May. Miss Grisomkowski.
Here.
Mr. Dimick.
Here.
Miss Ryan.
Here.
I am here. Miss Dodd.
Here.
Miss Cutter.
Here.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Here.
We are all present and accounted for.
Thank you. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second? All right. Motion made by Member Dodd, seconded by Member Ryan. Could I have a roll call, please?
Miss Dodd.
Yes.
Miss Ryan.
Yes.
I am a yes. Miss Grisomkowski.
Yes.
Miss Cotter.
Yes.
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Before the regular meeting starts, unfortunately, we had the passing of a young student this past weekend. And with the permission of the board and the audience, I'd like to have a moment of silence for this young person, along with his family being in our thoughts. So thank you. Thank you very much. The other thing other item that I do want to bring to the attention of our citizens in the audience, we do have citizens participation forms that are available. I want to thank all of you for attending the Huron Valley Board of Education meeting. As always, we welcome our Huron Valley School community's input and comments. A public comment segment will be available for 15 minutes, which include both action and non-action items during section 3 of the agenda. Additional comments will take place during section 7 of our agenda. If time allows and there are not that many individuals that would like to speak, I will move all those items up to item or section 3. Participants will have 3 minutes to present their comments and when recognized by myself. And as board presidents, according to board policy, we can make those various adjustments. This is not a time for us to get into dialogue. And if appropriate, I turn those items over to Dr. Salah, who will respond accordingly between board meetings or delegate that responsibility to other members. I also want to point out one other thing. As all of you know, one of the main functions of the board is board policies. And we have a number of board policies that are presented and acted upon during the course of the year. We went through quite a rigorous process as it related to that. Recently, we had a number of individuals that participated in our board meeting. I do want to apologize because of board policies, and as president of the board, I did not follow one policy that I do want to bring out. That while I did not follow it, we will adhere to it into the future. And that policy is that the board may permit individuals to attend meetings remotely through live broadcasts. However, public participation will be limited to those who are in attendance at the meeting site only. The board is not responsible for any technology failures that prevent or disrupt any individual from attending remotely. I allowed a couple of public comments done remotely at the last board meeting, and that is not an adherence to the board policy that we all voted on. So I do want to apologize to the members of the Board of Education for me not following the policy that we voted on and should be practiced. So I just wanted to make that point clear. Next, communication reports items from the board president. I just have one brief comment. I can't believe this, but the summer is almost over. Here it is, August. And I just want to state that this is our last regular scheduled board meeting before the start of the school year. So number one, parents, I'm sure that you're excited about your students joining us. I know that we are excited to have them. That's another year. It's another instructional generation that we're going to have in front of us. I know that there are so many people that have been so involved in getting us ready for the 23-24 school year. And I just want to make certain that you're recognized. Uh, there are so many people that are involved in getting our schools ready, from our administrative team to our instructional leadership team, to our custodians, to our bus drivers, to our parapros. We've had an outstanding summer of summer instruction that our students are going to reap the benefits from, and I appreciate all those that were involved in that. Our buildings are getting ready. I always say we only have one time for our first impression, and that first impression is coming very quickly in the next few weeks. I know that we've been involved heavily in attracting and retaining outstanding staff. I also know that there's been a tremendous amount of construction going on in the district, and I know a number of you have had an opportunity to visit our schools. So I just want to say thank you for all the work that's been done. We are excited about the new generation of students that are coming. We are a pre-K through adult program, and very proud of the work that we do. So I want to thank everybody. I look forward to seeing our staff at the back to school activities. I know that we have a number of new teachers and new staff that's coming on. I always say that if you're in education, you're more than just working for a paycheck. You have a direct effect on every child that walks through the door, no matter what your job responsibilities are, because you never know where you're going to make that connection with our students, and who you might make that connection with is so important. Whether you're the first to greet them as the yellow bus pulls up to the bus stop, to the child care person that might see them and have them in their class as their parents pick them up at the end of the day. So I just want to say thank you and appreciate everything that you do. So with that, recognitions, I do not believe at this point in time we have any Huron Valley heroes or highlights. Is that correct, Dr. Slaw?
That's correct, yes.
School presentations along with recognitions. We'll have a full slate of them coming up once school starts in September at our next board meeting. So with that, we'll skip through school presentations, and Dr. Slaw, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, as is customary during the school year, we will have a number of students present and sharing all the wonderful things that they're doing in their schools every single week. So a couple things. Mr. Wiseman mentioned that back to school proceedings are well underway. Really, it is fantastic to see staff back in the buildings. Last week, I had an opportunity to join our maintenance and operations team and kind of welcome them back. You can imagine that their work really doesn't stop throughout the course of the school year. They just continue right on. But if you walked into this building, and you'll notice the hallways are really clean, things are really well maintained, and that's because we have a maintenance and operations team that is dedicated to continuing to work throughout the summer and getting the work done. So we have a meeting Friday with our leadership management team as well as our administrators. Really excited to welcome them back. We have a number of items to review in anticipation for the school year, including professional learning, as well as revisiting our security audit that we had from Recon, and just talking about some of the themes that emerged. We actually drilled down with our principals individually by building, and we'll talk about some of the specific things that they can continue to work on as a team to make our schools that much safer. And then certainly continued focus on professional learning communities, the use of data to help drive our decisions, and so on and so forth. For our listening audience in the community, I just want to share with you that we did receive our preliminary draft security assessment report from Recon Management, which is the entity that we contracted with to do a full, thorough walkthrough of every one of our buildings to ensure that we are meeting the best practices as it relates to safety standards. Our Board of Education has all received a copy of this document. It will not be made available for public consumption for obvious reasons. We don't want to share any of our specific security strategies. But it does help us as a local school district to know and remain informed as it relates to what the best practices look like. I can report to our listening audience and the community that we are doing very, very well in this space, and we will continue to make security a major focus for us. So board has received this document, and for our board to know, you are not aware, but we received also an addendum document that I will be sharing with the board at future committee meetings. I think what's important to know about the addendum document is it provides us with some action steps as it relates to the next bond. As you can imagine, there are some things that we frankly cannot do right now from a financial perspective, because it really will require another bond in order to further move to the next level as it relates to safety and security. So I will go over those findings with the board specifically. There were 4 specific items that were lifted in this addendum report, and I'll share those things with the board. But for our listening audience, I just want to make sure everyone out there knows that we continue to make safety a major focus for us. And we will not, frankly, stop until we're perfect, and we're never going to be perfect. So I guess we won't stop. Let's see here. Statewide infrastructure study. So again, this is for our listening audience, but also for our Board of Education. Last week, I sent a message to the board regarding the state infrastructure study. For those of you who are unaware, the state of Michigan allocated $250 million in what they call school consolidation and infrastructure funds. These dollars are only going to be made available to school districts that agree to participate in the statewide infrastructure study. And this is really interesting. Some of you might be familiar with the School Finance Research Collaborative, which was an initiative to determine what it actually costs to educate a child to mastery of standards in the state of Michigan, a general education child. They used 2 methodologies, which included interviews with professional educators from across the state, as well as observations. They came up with the number. I think this report was done between 2018 and then it was updated in 2022. It was something around $10,500 to educate a child to mastery of standards. And that's for a general education child. It doesn't include a child that, for example, might qualify for free and reduced lunch, or a special education child, or an EL child. So an addendum to that study is what we call the statewide infrastructure study. Many of you are probably not aware that Michigan is one of 5 states, I believe, that does not receive any funding for maintenance of its physical plan. So meaning local taxpayers have to be asked to support bonds and sinking funds in order for us to make any updates to our school facilities. We passed the bond, obviously, in 2019. At the time, without escalating factors, I think we needed about $400 million in needs. Our buildings were in some pretty rough shape. We passed a $182 million bond and a roughly $2 million a year for 10 years sinking fund. So that gives us around $200 million to put a dent in some of the challenges that we have as a school district. And we are using those dollars strategically and with great wisdom and great care, as evidenced by the construction that's taken place in libraries like this one that we're sitting in, as well as at both of our high schools, where a tremendous amount of work is taking place at Milford High School and at Lakeland High School. Some of these things are just basic, like safety type things that we have to improve. Others are designed to help, catapult our kids into 21st century learning environments, including all the wonderful technologies that, many school districts around us have enjoyed for a number of years, but that we are now finally competitive with. We want to stay competitive. We want to continue to keep our kids safe. We want to continue to focus on infrastructure and water and all those sorts of things. So I digress here for a minute. The state of Michigan has allocated what they're calling a categorical called 11Y. And what they have been charged to do is actually study all 3,000 plus facilities, public schools in the state of Michigan in order to determine what that actual price tag looks like. Huron Valley Schools will be involved as a part of this study, and if we qualify for any of the $250 million, I want us to have a crack at that. Obviously, $250 million sounds like a lot of money, but when you think about it in the context of the fact that we just passed a $200 million bond and we needed $400 million, $250 million for 3,000 schools isn't all that much. So nevertheless, I'm just sharing with the board, we are moving forward with, participating in this study, hopeful for what the future might bring for not only Huron Valley Schools, but all schools in the state of Michigan. The two partners that have been selected to do this work are Plant Moran Cressa, actually the same entity that we recently engaged with to help us with our strategic plan 2.0, and Barton Mello. The Barton Mello Builders is also the entity that we're contracted to do this work. So just wanted to provide you with that update. And I think that's it. I know our human resources department have been very busy this summer, and really pleased, as I mentioned at the last meeting, with our new contract. It really has helped with recruiting and attracting staff to the district, and we are seeing that even in some of the harder to fill positions in special education and social work. And so promising trend there, and we'll continue to do the work. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Salah. Board correspondence, Secretary Pastana.
No correspondence tonight.
Treasurer's report, Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. Just a quick treasurer's report. We don't normally do a lot of these, but I thought it was really important for us to talk a little bit about the state of Michigan's budget. In July, the governor signed into law the new budget for 2023-2024. As you know, Huron Valley Schools passed a budget in June. That always makes things very interesting because we don't know what the variables are. We know that we have an X, a Y, and it will equal Z, and we don't know X, Y, or Z. So we have to make some very educated guesses. And I am really pleased to tell you that our finance team, I don't know if they had a crystal ball. I don't know if these are just incredibly, I can't even begin to tell you how amazing these individuals are, because they came to us with a budget and they anticipated a $450 increase in our foundation allowance. Foundation allowance is one of the most important aspects of our budget. The governor signed into law foundation allowance increase of $458. Now, that's impressive. And kudos to Mr. Van Gotham and his team for putting together a budget that is truly almost to the dollar what we expect that the lion's share of our revenue to be. This is also important because from a finance perspective, we start with revenue and then we look at our expenses. If our revenue had a significant shortfall, then we would have had to cut expenses, but we didn't have to do that because of our finance team and their just an incredible amount of foresight and ability to estimate. So I want to say thank you to our finance team, Mr. Van Gotham and your team. Really important work that you do, and we really appreciate how you've set us up for when we come back in October with a revised budget and quarterly amendments. We are going to be in a much better place than what we thought, but we aren't going to have to make tough decisions. So I want to thank you for that. We appreciate what you do on a day-to-day basis, but also on that annual basis when we're looking at the budget. We met with government leaders in February. Several of the board members and Dr. Salah went to Lansing to speak to our lobbyist and then to speak to the governor's office. We brought to the governor's office our concerns. As you know, we've talked about this a lot. Transportation is a large piece that comes out of our general fund to the tune of about $4 million. We are a large district. We have many students, but because we are so far flung, those transportation costs rise dramatically. And so we brought our concerns of the transportation as well as the consolidation and declining enrollment. When we spoke to the governor's representative, she came back with, well, we expect there to be free breakfast and free lunch, and we expect that pre-K or preschool will become the standard and not an option. And so those two things happened. But I'm also pleased to tell you that this consolidation piece is also part of the program, and we also know that there is a transportation categorical. I would like to thank Dr. Salah and our marketing team for the hard work that they put in. They were able to produce a graphic that explained to legislators why transportation is such an important piece of education. There are many districts across the state that have zero transportation. They have all walkers. Huron Valley is one of the few that has very few walkers. We have predominantly bus service. And so we won't get $4 million, unfortunately, but it is a start. And I think that it's something that we can build on. So I'm very proud of this transportation categorical. I'm very proud that we have a superintendent that is a visionary and who is always looking ahead to see what's coming down the pike and how can Huron Valley improve their finances so that we put more money in our classroom. That is a very important piece. In addition, we also shared our concerns about safety and security, and we are pleased to see that safety and security funding will also continue. That is very important for us because we're going to look at the Fortis contract tonight, and we're going to be asked to approve it. We now can approve a 3-year contract because we know we have the funding. We plan to bring Rosie back. Our munitions sniffing dog is probably one of the greatest safety and security ideas that we've brought into the school. She provides tangible and intangible benefits to our students. And, you know, this is as a parent of a special education student, we are also seeing some special education increases to which I am extremely proud of. And it doesn't get us to 100% IDA, but it will help us to close the gap for those students that need just a little bit more help, and we can help them where they are. So that is my report. I apologize if it was lengthy and wordy, but there's a lot of really good things happening, and I want our district and our parents and our community to know that we have a fantastic staff that works collaboratively to see that Lansing knows what we need, and then they work to make it work for Huron Valley. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Outstanding report. Much appreciated. I just wish that maybe Jeffrey was with me when I was taking algebra back in high school, and because I had a heck of a time figuring out X, Y, and Z because it never ended. It always ended up being 0, and there was always a red check next to it. So, job well done. Next, reports from board committee. The first one is exec. The executive committee met on August 9th at 12 p.m. Most of us met at the Huron Valley School Administration Building. I do want to say thank you to Member Dodd, who I asked to chair. I participated in the meeting virtually, which I was able to do because the committees are not something that we act on. So I was able to, up in Boyne Mountain with my computer, very, very casually, and participated in the meeting. So I was there along with Denise Pastana, Laura Dodd, Dr. Slot, Jeanette Wenger, and Heather Cadell. There were no public comments. The regular agenda that's before us tonight, it was talked and was reviewed on. Jeanette brought forth a staffing and recruitment update. She shared with us current staffing needs within the district. She also shared with the committee that she is still hiring staff and anticipates movement, but feels the district is in very good shape in comparison to previous years. She also highlighted the positive effect that our new recruitment efforts have had. She also reported that a number of contracts have been settled, and those are before us tonight. There's all kinds of letters that go with them, HVAA, HVSMC, and so on and so forth. But we'll get into that in greater detail in a few moments. Safety and security. As always, each of our committees have safety and security on their agenda because that is definitely a focus. As Dr. Salah he stated, he shared with us the Recon Management Group Security Assessment Report and highlighted various areas. Uh, uh, Heather Cadell shared with us one of our board goals was to develop a Board of Education website so that we could gather all this information in one spot, so we weren't so heavily paper reliant. And she reported to us the development of the Google Drive specifically for us in response to one of our defined board goals that was established during one of our professional development opportunities. The goal of this new shared drive is to provide a centralized location for board members to access needed information such as school events, community agendas, board packets, and so on. Dr. Salah also shared with us back to school information, walked through the committees, through the agenda for the opening day, dates and the agendas of new teacher orientation and elementary open houses were also discussed. Under other, I had an opportunity to recognize and thank Dr. Salah for his reports and communication to keep the board up to date on class sizes. He also commended, or I also commended, on the governor's new budget, which has funding being allocated towards mental health resources, which gives the sustainability to keep these supports into our classroom. And I think that's extraordinarily important. Treasurer Grzykowski talked about safety and security. A big portion of that was mental health. And I know that we were able to sustain a very robust mental health outreach for our students, which is extraordinarily important. The meeting was adjourned at 1:42. Next, we have TLT committee report. Secretary Pastana.
Yes, TLT met today, and meeting started at 4:34. No public comment. Present were Ms. Cotter, Mr. Dimick, myself, Dr. Salah, Mr. DeVernier, Ms. Nemeth, Ms. Thompson, Ms. Bjorkman, and our student representative from the IA, Rowan. We talked about engagement of student leadership. And well, we only had one representative there today, but we will get more engagement from the rest of them. And we wanted him to know that the committee appreciates his input and insights. And we're working on timelines and when we can meet. We had a presentation by Dr. Nemeth on benchmark assessment results. And this is from the end of last year. The spring results said K through 3 results above the national norms, 4 through 8 average scores with national norms. We will be focusing on growth scores and analyzing what each student needs. Reviewed the focus for 23-24, increase the use of data, provide professional learning and alignment of curriculum and instruction. We talked about the scoreboard metrics from our board assessment. We are going to include, or they are to include, demographic data, perception data, process data, student learning data. This is going to be informative for the Board of Education and instructional staff, and we're going to keep discussing it at future TLT meetings. We discussed standing agenda items, safety and security, strategic plan 2.0. Consent agenda items. Tonight you will see we will be discussing routine purchase of the iReady license and the Imagine license, which used to be E2020 or Ingenuity. TLT recommended that we approve these, and so you will see it on tonight's agenda. We had Mr. DeVernier gave us information about our new teacher leaders. Megan Weeks for Fine Arts Coordinator, Scott Rolando for Career Focus Ed Coordinator, and Amanda Rivers for Behavior Specialist Coordinator. And that was it. We adjourned at 5:55. I would like to thank Ms. Cotter for taking such good notes. And our next meeting is August 20-something. 29th. Thanks. August 29th.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pastana. Finance and Operations, Ms. Grzykowski.
Finance and Operations met last week, Thursday, August 10th at 8 a.m. at the admin building. Present were Ms. Cotter, Ms. Ryan, Dr. Salah, Mr. Van Gotham, Mr. Reeby, Ms. Kerrigan, Ms. Mariskin, Becky Timberlake, and Jackie Hilgendorf from Clark, and our representative from TMP, Bill Weinrock, as well as myself. There was no public comment. We reviewed the consent agenda items that are going to be on our agenda this evening. Our food service purchases, I'm sorry, there was only one. Food service purchases. That was everything from ice cream and pizza and who we use. Unfinished business, we're looking at the resolution, Eagle resolution for groundwater for near Oak Valley. We have the Bogey Lake Campus Water Easement Agreement, Fitness Center equipment. New business this evening that was recommended by the committee is the Zebra Canine Service Contract. This is the service contract for our canine team, aka Rosie. And we will be seeking approval at tonight's meeting because we'd like to get this in place prior to the school year, start of the school year. We did also have safety and security updates. Dr. Salah shared the Recon Management Security Assessment Report and executive summary documents with the committee. We are talking about signing a 3-year contract with our security company, Fortis, and Mr. Van Gotham provided the committee with an update on the governor's budget, and we'll bring this information to the Finance and Operations Committee meeting in September. First quarter budget adjustments will be made by the end of October. In addition, we had an update from Clark Construction with respect to our different construction initiatives, including a walkthrough of Milford High School and Lakeland High School. It was absolutely fascinating. It's really amazing what they do. If you've not been to the new bandstand, what is that they call bandstand? Grandstand. Sorry.
What's a bandstand?
I'm starting to look a little older here. The grandstand, the new grandstand, fantastic, really amazing at Milford High School. I highly encourage you to see if you can get to the top and watch a football game. Really fun. We did adjourn the meeting at 9:24 a.m. Our next meeting is September 6th at 8 a.m. And we have lots of future meetings that they're all on here, and I'm not going to bore you with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Communications, marketing, and legislation. Vice
Yes.
President Dodd.
Our meeting was July 18th at the administration building. We started the meeting at 3:05 p.m. Present were myself, Amy Grzymkowski, Tom Wiseman, Barb Rothler, Paul Salah, and Kim Willis. There was no public comment. During our regular agenda, we discussed Neola board policies. Those policies are on the agenda tonight, and the committee should also read those before our meeting tomorrow to make sure that any changes that are there, we can note and make sure the rest of the board gets them before we vote on them at our next general board meeting. We also discussed community sponsorship, making sure that all of the wonderful people who are in our community who support us, that it is done in an organized fashion, so we're not going to people again and again and again. So worked on getting ducks in a row for that. We also discussed HVS text messages and push alerts, and using both text messages and push alerts. The committee, they updated the committee about the latest notifications the district has for families. At the moment, they'll be used for school closings and other district-wide information needed to get out right away. Push alerts are available through the HVS app. We have an app. If you don't have the app, you should download the app. Families need to make sure they're signed up for notifications. If you download the app, you have to say, yes, please send me notifications. If you don't, you won't get notifications, but you might get a text message still. Yes. The committee suggested making sure push alert information is in the enrollment information during the student back to school enrollment that's going on right now. We also looked at the HVS website, specifically the communications pages. Communications has been working on a new HVS communications page on the website.
The committee had a chance to look at a rough draft of the page and gave feedback. They're working on having this page live by the next meeting. That's tomorrow. It's ready. 2023-24 communication calendar. The committee requested a 2023-2024 calendar of need to know days and events throughout the year at the various buildings, which might be appropriate for us to attend. This will help the board stay in the loop for what each building has, so they can attend and help become part of the arch of the story of the district. The list will be modified with committee suggestions and added to the Board of Education Google Drive. We did not have any communication regarding legislative information, future meetings. The committee finalized future meeting dates, and the dates are posted on the district website. Those dates are always up for change based on the committee, and we will always share the next committee date at these meetings. In other, committee asked about to draft a letter that each of the board members who liaises with the school can use as a template. That letter is ready, and we'll give some feedback on it tomorrow, and then it'll be good to go to the rest of the board. Committee asked about the free and reduced lunch application. A reminder to the community, the free and reduced lunch application isn't just for reduced lunches. It really does a lot more than that. We wish that the title of the form weren't free and reduced lunch, but it is. It's not. We updated it. So good news. So every person in the community should fill out this form, because it helps identify different things that can be utilized in the district. So for our Title I schools, to make sure that we get extra support in those schools. Also, it can give students and families discounts on things like SAT, ACT, and some other things that are really important. So please make sure you fill out that form. It's not just for free and reduced lunch, because now everybody gets free breakfast and lunch. The communications, we saw the recon management assessment and have it to review. We can discuss at the next meeting. We also discussed employee recruitment and recognition, and we'll continue the conversation at the next meeting. I know those conversations are happening at other meetings too. We adjourned at 4:25. The next meeting is tomorrow, Tuesday, August 15th at 3 p.m. at the administration building. Sorry, I diverted a bit from my written notes, but I felt like there were some things that needed to get added in.
Did a fine job. One comment, tomorrow you're going to be reviewing the letter that has been authored pertaining to a letter of introduction and roles of ambassadors. I know Dr. Slaa and I have had an opportunity to review it. It looks great, but we will certainly want to hear from your committee. At the same time, what I ask is for the committee to also work on how we not only personalize it, but how we also send it out. Because the challenge that we have is our elementary buildings have one ambassador, but our middle schools and high schools have a number of ambassadors. So the challenge will be, as opposed to each of us sending that letter out, how might we do that? So I asked the committee to work on that tomorrow, come up with a plan, and please review what Dr. Slaa and I have already reviewed and edit as needed. So thank you very much. Next on the agenda is public comments. This is on action items. Heather, I only have 3. I do not have anything on action items. And that being the case, we do allocate 15 minutes at this point in time. I do have 3 on non-action items. So what I'm going to do is move that section, which is, I believe, section 7, up to public comments on number 3. And the first person, as I said, this is not a time for us to have conversations. You are allocated 3 minutes to present your thoughts and your comments. And the first person is Wendy Fugate. If you could state your name, which I've already done, your address, and the school district that you attend, that you reside in. Wendy?
Hi, my name is Wendy Fugate, 115 Coyote Run, Holly, Michigan, Holly Schools. I am back here again to talk about my husband, Phil Fugate, who is a highly effective 28-year veteran teacher with an unblemished record. He is extremely highly regarded by parents, students, previous administration, current and previous staff members, his family, and friends. As a matter of fact, he is extremely highly respected by everyone but you. You can pretend that this transfer is not a malicious act, but it is apparent to everyone looking on that the opposite is true. At the last board meeting, Amy, you told the children that spoke that this was how the democratic process works. I beg to differ. After the board meeting, we found out that Dr. Salah was going after Phil even more. My husband was gifted amazing dry erase tables by the Lakewood PTA. These tables were a huge part of Phil's daily life. Parents and students loved the way these learning tools were utilized in the classroom. We were told that Dr. Salah instructed Heather Peden to not allow these tables to be moved to Phil's new school, and that after he left, these tables were to be thrown away. Thousands of dollars wasted. Why? Because you hate him so much? You want him to suffer? Why? We don't know the answer because Dr. Salah decided he didn't like Phil. Instead of talking to my husband, he's trying to run him out of the district. We were approached by another employee that had a conversation with Mr. Tavernier. And when they were talking about Phil, which is rather odd because we haven't even had a conversation, this employee was told that there is more to the story. So not only are you trying to run him out of the district, but you want to smear his name and make people think that he's done something to deserve this cruel treatment. I've heard people say that they don't just do this to good teachers. He must have done something wrong. The only reasons we were given are certification, but it's a lateral move to teach the same grade, so that doesn't make sense. And the other reason is that the Republicans said you can. So you're moving Phil away from his community, his work family, his support system. You're stripping him of the tools he utilizes to be a highly effective teacher. You're making him the new guy so he can be moved over and over, and you're trying to ruin his good name. How is this okay? How is it that you can accuse my husband of a secret act, be judge, jury, and executioner without him being able to defend himself? That's very authoritarian. What you are doing is cruel. You don't treat other human beings like this. We have spent many days packing up 28 years of his life. We are physically and emotionally exhausted. Phil will go on to teach and be an incredible teacher while you play games. As a matter of fact, all teachers have the best interest of students and are always doing what's right by them, while you make decisions that make their lives difficult. I can only hope that my husband will be able to withstand this malicious attack and stay strong for the students and district that he loves. I pray he will remain in Huron Valley, continuing to make a difference in the lives of these kids long after you have moved on to your next conquest. My husband's story is not an isolated event. We have heard from countless valued employees that have been on or are currently being targeted by this administration. People are afraid to speak because they don't want to be your next victims. I'll be here.
Phil Fugate is next.
Hi, Phil Fugate, Holly, Michigan. 115 Coyote Run, Holly School District. I've been watching a little bit on the Huron Valley webpage, what people are doing over the summer. I was going to post some pictures, but I just thought, yeah, maybe I won't. I'll just kind of give you an update on what I've been doing. I read one today. It says, I've been spending time outside picking berries. I've been dealing with a tremendous amount of anxiety. I saw another one that says, I've been taking epic rides before returning to school. I've been packing hundreds of boxes. One person said they loved traveling out of state. Well, I've been moving furniture to get to my things because I can't even get to my personal belongings because they're buried under tremendous amount of furniture. One person said they traveled to Europe. I've had sleepless nights. Another person said they were fishing. I said, well, I've been moving box after box to a new school, spending hours on the phone trying to answer the same question. Why were you moved? Because of certifications, I told them. They said, what does that mean? I said, that means the superintendent can move whoever he wants, whatever he wants, and whenever just can move them because the Republicans gave him a law that says he can. I'm here right now. The last thing I want to say is I know the ship sailed. I'm moving to Country Oaks. That's fine. I have a lot of people over there that I love. I love the principal. I love Gary Hamilton. I'm working with a lot of my friends. All I ask now is just take care of the people at Lakewood that you've ignored for so long. They deserve better. We have 2 fifth grade classrooms at Lakewood right now with 30 and 31 students. It's a disservice to that group. That group's went through a tremendous amount of just horrible year after year. They had a teacher that was suffering with COVID for over for months and months. Had a long-term sub that walked out on them while class was going, and so somebody else had to come in and take them over. All I'm saying is, please quit ignoring them. Take care of my friends. Take care of my school family over there, and take care of those kids. I love them all, and I'm going to miss them. But you know what? I'm going to do the same thing that I did at Lakewood. I'm going to do the same thing at Country Oaks. And I was going to retire. I was thinking maybe in 2 years. I'm now thinking I'm going to re-up my certification. I may hang on for 10 more. Thank you.
Autumn Frazier.
Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's had a good summer. All right, I'm here this evening to shine some light on the current fifth grade sections at Lakewood, as we only have 2 sections as of right now that I know of, being a staff member. And normally we have 3 sections with this group that's been moving up the line since kindergarten. We really need 3 sections, guys. Like, really do. These kids have been through so much, and it's not your fault, and it's not, you don't know the depths of what this group has literally been through since the time they were in first grade. I'm going to shed a few examples of what this group has been through. All right. They're very unique. They have weathered adversity and tribulation since the 3rd marking period of March of 2020, when everything was shut down. Not HVS's fault, you guys, not your fault. Then first grade, I just said it was abruptly cut short, no closure. This was not your guys' fault. Fast forward to the 2nd grade for this group. Some kids did all virtual and some kids did in person. We had the A and B days for the schools, that the kids that were in school, and we had virtual, which was pretty much social free of peers. HVS did its best given crazy regulations and the panic that ensued to conform to what they needed to be up and running per county and per state measures. These 2nd graders, now the 5th graders, then all went virtual for a couple months right around Thanksgiving. It was a hot mess, but again, not HVS doings, had to conform. The year finally got a bit more normal by the end of 2nd grade, but just wasn't the same. Partitions, masks, COVID letters that were going home, all that fear that was ensuing. Again, not your fault. These 2nd graders then turned into 3rd graders. Huge year for state tests, huge accountability pieces. We all know that. That's in education. One of the 3rd grade teachers got gravely sick in November. It was horrific. She's one of my best friends. I mean, we didn't even know if she was going to make it. The class they had building subs in the classroom coming in and out. God bless their souls. They did the best that they could to try to hold this group up. Then we had a long-term retired teacher that came in. Nobody knew what was going to happen when she came in. It was very unstable. She was kind of unfit at times. She walked off the job in early spring, and the kids were literally left crying in that classroom. I went in there to help out, feeling abandoned. They were scared, and they felt that like now another person had left them. Their teacher's in the hospital almost dying, and then this other person just abandons them. It was an awful scene, you guys. No one knew this would happen. It's not your guys' fault that happened. Finally, the classroom teacher was able to come back the last month. Everybody was able to rejoice. It was magical. Now this year, 4th grade, they had finally a stable year. It was consistent. Everything was back to normal. Kids are resilient. We know that they rebound, okay? They had a great year. I'm out on the playground all the time. I'm able to witness them. I play basketball with them. I ref the soccer games out there. Please just let me have a little more time just about this group, please. I could see it. It was turning, it was spinning for this group of kids, okay? Then all of a sudden we're hearing that they're going to shovel them into 2 sections. And it was very shocking to us staff members and most of the current 5th grade parents, because we're like, we really need 2 sections. You guys let them have 2 sections all the way up from kindergarten. Thank you for giving them that, but they need this for 5th grade. They need 3 sections just to carry them through so they know that it's consistent, it's stable. They need familiar faces more than any other group. Every group is different. I get that. This past group, when in my kindergarten classroom, I had like 21 kids. You guys, I hope you wouldn't, but you could have gave me 30 and I could have took those kids the same way. But this group is unique and special. They really need that extra help. You can ask the social workers about them. You can ask Jill Brower about them. You can get all the fact checks about this group. We have a perfect candidate for that position once it opens up. He knows those kids. He has great relationships with those kids. He would slide right in there and he would take them under their wing. He knows them. So we already have the candidate if please you guys open up a 3rd section. We really need that for this group of kids. I love this district. I love working here. I love living here. I smile every day I go to school. I smile every day I drive home from school. It's a wonderful place to raise your kids. Please, 3 sections of 5th grade for this unique group. Thank you for your time.
Heather, were there any other reports? Thank you. Next, the consent agenda. You have those in front of you. Consent agenda items are normal transactions that occur during the course of the year. I know there are 3 items as it relates to purchases, but I believe all 3 of them are normal rote type purchases, renewals of contracts that are already in existence. And I know finance and operations went over the food service purchases that go from A to Z as it relates to items that are before our students. So do I have a motion to approve the various exhibits that are in front of us for the consent agenda? Motion made by member Pastana, seconded by member Dimick. Is there any questions, comments? Seeing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Yep. I am a yes. Mr. Dimick.
I am a yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, under unfinished business, these are items within this section that were brought forth at the last board meeting, A through D. The first is fitness center equipment. Dr. Slough?
Mr. Van Gotham, if you wouldn't mind taking A, B, and C as they come up. First one is A.
Yeah, so item A is fitness center equipment. So we had discussions at the past 2 finance and operations committee meetings. This relates to the weightlifting equipment essentially in the 2 high schools. And so we had that publicly bid. We did recommend that the contract be awarded to BSN Sports. We did receive some questions from board members, which we followed up on and had a deeper conversation last Wednesday at the committee meeting. There was no additional questions, so at this time we would ask the board to approve the fitness center equipment in the amount of $156,800.82. And this is coming from the 2020 Capital Projects Fund and was a part of the budget that we asked the state of Michigan to approve for us on this bond.
Thank you. Is there any additional questions or comments to Mr. Van Gotham? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
Sure. I'll move that the Board of Education approve the fitness center equipment as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, member Dodd and member Grzymkowski made a motion and seconded. Any other comments? Seeing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes. Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is the Bogey Lake Campus Water Easement Agreement. Mr. Van Gotham?
So we had discussed this at last meeting under new business, but this is essentially the final easement agreement we need between Huron Valley Schools and White Lake Township. As you recall, we're building, the township has already built a water main that extends down Bogey Lake. This is for the work that will take place on our campus. We will have an infrastructure system that, again, has been budgeted for in our bond that will basically connect the 3 schools on our Bogey Lake campus to this water main. And so the township will require certain easements as it relates to being able to tend to and fix and work on the water line and the adjacent pieces that we're going to build on our campus. So we are paying for the infrastructure, and eventually White Township will take over the management of the water, as it's been recommended that the school district move away from being in the water operating business, and our partnerships with White Lake Township will allow us to do that. So this is an easement that we need the board to approve, and then from there, White Lake Township will do their final approval, as they have already essentially had this go through their legal group. They'll approve it at the township level, and then we'll basically have all the pieces we need to start actually doing that work on our Bogey Lake campus, which is exciting because everybody's excited about having that water come down to that campus.
Any questions? Before we have a motion, I'm glad to hear that you clarified that the water main and all the work that's been going on in Bogey Lake is under White Lake supervision, but is being paid for by the citizens of Huron Valley School District through the bond issue, along with the easement in the work that's going to be done to connect the water main onto the campus itself.
That's correct. And it's important to note too that with the initial water main, there's also a iron filtration plant, which was 2 times the cost of the water main, and that is actually being funded by White Lake Township. So in partnership, they actually made a very large commitment to obviously their own township, but Huron Valley Schools too, and supporting what we came together with as an agreement to bring this water main down to primarily service Huron Valley Schools, Bogey Lake campus, but also, eventually other citizens within the township, which is one of the townships that services, is a part of our Huron Valley school system.
And that's a strong partnership because obviously both the water main and the iron filtration system is part of the entire system to make certain that we have clean, safe water going onto our campus. But it also benefits White Lake Township because all the residents along that water main in the future can tie into that and get off their wells. So I applaud the district for that partnership. I know that we spent a lot of time on this. People see the water main going down Bogey Lake. Now we're talking about tying it in. So what is the timeline as it relates to us getting off of the existing water on that campus and going to the newer water in partnership with White Lake?
So it's my understanding once we as a board approve, or you as a board approve this easement, it'll go back to White Lake Township on their next township committee meeting or their formal board meeting. They will approve it, and then those will be the sign-offs we need to start this work on campus. Again, hopeful that as we start the school year for the 24-25 year, that now we'll have basically, the 10 months it'll take to get that finalized, that, we can be basically a year from now being able to tap into that and having water provided to the schools. Obviously procedurally, the goal would have been to have it as soon as possible, but making sure we got all of this done in the proper timeline obviously takes a long time to do what we've done. I mean, we had these conversations really before we even had a bond approved, and started those in December of 18. So this has been really a 4.5 year endeavor that, I'm really excited about, because I think it's going to be a real win for the township as well as Huron Valley Schools in providing clean drinking water that's part of the city township water system, which is great.
Well, I think it's another example of why we say thank you over and over again as it relates to our Huron Valley community, because without their support and support of the school district, these things wouldn't be possible. So thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, could I have a motion, please?
I'll move that the Board of Education approve the Bogey Lake Campus Water Easement Agreement as presented.
And do I have a second? Member Grzykowski made the motion, seconded by Member Ryan. Could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Grzymkowski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Ms. Cotter
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Sea Eagle resolution regarding groundwater. Boy, we're talking a lot about water today. Go ahead, Mr. Van Gosen.
So we've also had a partnership with the Eagle as it relates to the groundwater that is near our Country Oaks, Oak Valley campus. And what Eagle has asked us to do is just basically re-up based on the agreement that we have with them through a resolution that the board is aware of what the partnership we have with them, that we are properly taking care of the groundwater around our campus. And again, as it relates to the feeding into other, what you would call like tributaries, other lakes near the campus over there. And so they're asking for us just to basically publicly have a resolution that shows that we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. There's no new system that will be in place as a result, but publicly acknowledging, basically, I think what happened is the last resolution was before our time or any of the board members, just re-upping the commitment that the district has with Eagle in properly taking care of the groundwater around our campus. And so they provided us a template. We had our legal team review it. No issues with that. We had a first reading a month ago, and now we're asking the board to take a final vote on it.
So it's something that we've been doing, and we've been meeting it or exceeding what's expected of us. It's just a formal resolution.
Yes, there will be nothing new that we will be doing above and beyond what we've already been doing, which is complying with the basically contract or agreement with Eagle, which has changed names over the last several years, but basically the water authority within the state of Michigan, which currently sits as Eagle. And so we're going to let this thing fly and pass it and move on.
I won't put Member Dodd on the spot because last time you defined what Eagle stood for. So
I know it's environment, Great Lakes. I can't remember the last E.
that's all right. And Member Cotter, did you notice that Mr. Van Goghen said it was before our time?
Yeah, but I kind of remember part of this.
So it really wasn't before your time.
The last E is energy.
Energy.
Environment, Great Lakes, and energy.
Okay. I knew you knew it. All right. Do I have a motion, please?
Sure, I'll move, since I looked up what it means, I'll move that the Board of Education approve the Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy Resolution, re-groundwater as presented.
Do I have a second? All right. Motion made by Member Dodd, seconded by Member Cotter. Could I have a roll call?
Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Grisomkowski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Dimick,
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
You gave A, B, and C to Mr. Van Goghen. I'm not sure who D goes to.
I'll take D.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this evening, we are asking the Board of Education to support, as Ms. Grisomkowski highlighted in her treasurer report. That's okay. A 3-year contract with the Fortis Group. As you may recall, shortly after the Oxford tragedy, we made some strategic investments in safety and security, one of which was to hire a private security firm to support some of our initiatives as a school district, where we felt like we could bolster some additional security for a variety of reasons and mostly contextual. So we are recommending a 3-year agreement. This would provide us 3 private security officers for the entire duration of that 3-year span. All individuals are retired law enforcement. They have been trained in security protocols. Fortis Group also has all the appropriate licensures and have required multitude of trainings for their staff, including things like our CPI training, crisis prevention intervention, that we train all of our special education teachers and many of our administrators on to help de-escalate situations that may become adversarial. These 3 officers will be carrying concealed weapons on their persons as well. That is something that we did not have in year 1, but we did add last year. We started with an open carry, and then we made the decision to move to a concealed carry. And so they will continue that as part of this agreement.
Any questions? Yes, Member Dodd.
I just want to add some support and some contextual information about this. They have been with us for a while and have been wonderful. It does not feel like when they're around that there is a police officer constantly in the building, and they are wonderful role models. They have been outstanding people who they've placed in our building, so it's helpful. Because our school district encompasses multiple municipalities, Milford Township, and White Lake have their own police departments who we work very closely with. Commerce and Highland, those communities are covered by the Oakland County Sheriff's deputies. We have a great relationship with Oakland County Sheriff's deputies, but they're not able to be quite as in community as Milford and White Lake police are. So this really helps fill that in to make sure that if there's an emergency, we have somebody there as soon as we need them. And as much as I would love for us to not have to spend this money, as much as I would love for safety and security to be something we didn't have to talk about all the time, I think the wonderful thing about them is not only are they there in case of a tragic emergency, but they're also there and offering a wonderful level of support on a day-to-day basis in our buildings.
Thank you for your comments. You're absolutely right. Any other comments? Seeing none, could I have a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the Fortis Group contract as presented.
Motion made by member Pastana. Do I have a second? Second by member Dimick. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, could I have a roll call?
I'm a yes. Mr. Dimick.
I am a yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
Ms. Grisomkowski.
Yes.
Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next, section 6, new business. First on the agenda is Zebra K9 service contract. Dr. Salah.
I will ask Mr. Van Gotham to speak to this one.
So last year, our most popular hire in Huron Valley Schools was Rosie, the elite detection canine dog we brought in about halfway through the year. And so this contract is with a new entity, Zebra K9, which is several board members and administration from Elite Detection. Elite Detection was a subsidiary of Leader Dogs for the Blind, and they decided to move away from that program. However, several of the administration, as well as some board members, form this other entity. They have all their licenses, the insurances necessary to continue this program. We will keep Rosie, which again has been the most popular employee, at least that I can see over the last 6 to 9 months. And so this contract is a 1-year contract. So they also offered us a 3-year deal, but given that they're, starting a new business, even though it's all the same players, minus our handler, we want to give them a 1-year contract, but we're happy with the work that they did and looking forward to continuing that partnership with, again, the most popular employee in Huron Valley, Rosie. And so we're asking for the board to consider a 1-year contract that will start right at the beginning of the school year. So that's what's before you this evening. And again, we have Section 97 funds, which cover the complete cost of this. This is not a general fund impact whatsoever to the district.
Thank you. Comments? Amy?
Yeah, President Wiseman, we would like, I know we normally have a 2 read on new business, but we would like to ask the board to vote on the Zebra K9 service contract this evening so that it is in place September 5th when school starts.
Do I have a second to that? All right. The motion was made by member Grisomkowski and seconded by member Ryan to move this directly to action. Normally we have a first reading and a second reading. Do we have any discussion as it relates to that motion? Yes.
Yes, I just wanted to comment that in our Finance and Operations Committee, I attended that day. You have my full support on this one. I agree. Best we have the pup in place by the first day of school.
Thank you. Any other comments? Well, I agree. Rosie was very popular. I'm not going to stick my head out and say it was the most popular. All right. But you're on record now. I don't want to dish anybody that was hired after Rosie.
Well, if we can find another employee who garners 5 or 6 newspaper articles
That's true.
Interviews from major news networks, then we'll start talking. So I stand by my statement, Mr. Wiseman.
All right. This is not a time to debate. All right. But I hear what you're saying. I assume that Rosie, she transferred from Leader Dogs for the Blind. She filled out the proper resume and she was hired by this company. But truthfully, she was popular, but there were so many reasons why she was popular. She was popular because she provided support to our students because she was that type of canine. And the handler was excellent. And I know that the new handler will be just as good. But also we, as a administrative team and a Board of Education, called on her a number of occasions to, not a number of occasions, but on several occasions to provide some additional support to our buildings. And she was not just located in one building, but was a presence throughout the district and at evening events. And she became an integral part of the Huron Valley family, and people affectionately referred to as Rosie, whether it was a kindergartner or a senior. So she did a marvelous job, and she was popular because of the job that she did. And we just aren't hiring her because she was popular, but the work that she did for us. So that being said, I appreciate the motion to move that. And since we do have that, I guess we need to have a motion now to vote. So we have approved it moving to action.
So we didn't do a roll call to move to action. Do you
So
want to
we
do
need
that?
to make a roll
And then-
call first.
okay,
Yes,
that's what I
thank
wanted
you.
to make sure.
That's
You're
why
welcome.
you're in charge of that area.
All right. So Ms. Grisomkowski, this is to move to action
Yes,
for the canine.
yes.
Ms. Grisomkowski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Mr. Dimick,
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes. Now do I have a
Motion
motion?
passes.
Do I have a motion to approve the contract?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract as presented from Fortis Group for 1 year.
Not Fortis Group, from
Sorry,
Zebra.
from Zebra Canine, I apologize.
No, no
One
need,
back.
no need to apologize. Motion made by member Dimick. Do I have a second? It's a tie, but so I'll take alphabetically. I'll take Ms. Cotter. All right. So
Cotter's-
motion made by member Dimick, seconded by member Cotter. Could I have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Dimick,
I'm a yes.
Ms. Cotter,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Dodd,
Yes.
Ms. Grisomkowski.
Yes.
I am just checking. I'm a yes. And Mr. Wiseman. Did I miss anybody? Sorry, we're doing this on the fly.
Just
Mr.
me?
Wiseman, just you.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
Great, thank you. Board policy updates. Exhibit G, Dr. Salam.
So this set of policies went to marketing communication. So I'm going to ask Ms. Rothler to briefly touch on this first reading.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Salah. The administration has worked with Neola to review and update 5 of the policies that are currently in place. These policies primarily focus on advertisement, commercial, and then updates to our emergency operations plan for the district. We shared those updates to the communication committee on June 5th and again on July 18th. It was also shared with the executive committee on August 9th and was sent to the full board in your packet last week. I did not receive any questions regarding these updates, so I'm requesting the board to consider these updates and improve them in the September board meeting.
Any questions? Yes, member Dodd.
I'll just say, as the committee that's reviewed these, they're very minimal changes. Updating to make sure that we have the proper technology listed, but very minimal changes. Really, it's just making sure that we get our eyes on these every once in a while, make sure they're up to date, and that Neola works with us to do that. So always good to have a good read, but there really is very little in here that's of much substance, mostly just updating.
Great. I think we're at the point with our policies that we've approved all the policies, we brought them up to speed, and now we're just doing updates, correct? And in this case, very minimal. If there are any questions of as it relates to these policies, direction as it relates to, should they come through Dr. Salah and then forward it to the rest of the board?
Yeah, any questions? Yeah, as is customary, any questions, please feel free to send to me, and I will circle with Barb if there's anything I can't answer specifically, and then we will send the questions along with the responses in your board packets. I'm sorry, in your Friday notes, which will begin again this Friday. So you should expect to receive those Friday notes for the remainder of the school year.
it's the official start of the school year when we start getting superintendent's notes on Friday. All right, very good. Next, we have a number of contracts before us, C, D, E, and F. Yes, thank you. Dr. Salah.
As you mentioned, Mr. Wiseman, we have several contracts here this evening. Ms. Wagner is going to speak to basically the process and kind of high level for all of them, and then we will ask the board to take action on each individually.
Thank you, Dr. Salah. While I am in support of Rosie being our best hire, it's probably in our best interest from the Human Resources Department to hire human employees. So that said, we're going to continue on with that. So the contract settlements for the 4 groups presented tonight were negotiated in accordance with the board parameters that we had set as a result of our closed session on negotiations. The details, as Mr. Wiseman mentioned, were discussed at the executive committee on August 9th. The terms and the conditions of each of the contracts were included with a summary in the board packet. And I'm happy to answer any questions on each of the individual ones. I didn't receive any, but happy to do so now.
Are there any questions as it relates to these various contracts? Yes, Mr. Dimick.
I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to say that I reviewed all of them, and I just appreciate the amount of effort Human Resources has had to put in this summer. We've had quite a number of hires, and you guys have been super busy, so thank you.
Thank you.
As we go through these, I think it would be important to break down the acronyms for each of these or the abbreviations so that we know, or the community knows exactly what contracts we're approving. The only question I have is more towards Mr. Van Gothen. You had presented to us in June when we adopted the budget, various scenarios, and we created parameters as it related to this. Are these contracts within the budget as presented? And while it's certainly been indicated they're within our parameters, I guess it really comes down to, can we afford them?
Yes, so we had a closed session as Mrs. Wenger indicated, and we also, at the time of approving the original budget, gave the board and the community a scenario where if our contracts were approved, this may be a version of what the budget would look like. I'm happy to say that the salary piece is pretty accurate to what that is. We don't have all of our contracts here. There are a couple that we're finalizing, so it's not going to be the same number, but we're also blessed with better than expected revenue. And so when we make our first quarter budget presentations, we anticipate a better budget than we use as a guess that we didn't have you approve. So one, we can afford them. It is within the parameters that the board set forth. And we're happy with the results that will lead to, recognizing the work that they're doing, attracting and retaining new staff as well. So
thank you. Exactly. Not only can we afford them from a financial standpoint, but we cannot afford not to have them and to continue the good work of this district. So it's extraordinarily important for us to put this in place, just as it was mentioned, as it relates to attracting and retaining our classroom staff and our supports director for our teachers. There's not one person here that in some way does not have a positive effect on the outcomes of our students, because that's why we're here.
I would say that that's, even though I have the role as the finance piece, the role about not being able to, we cannot afford to not do this. So while we can afford to expend the money, it's more important that we recognize the talent that we have, and we cannot afford to lose the good people that we do have. So this is reflective of both of those points, which I think, like you mentioned, is very important for the community and for our staff to feel that this is something we have to spend money on because they're worth it.
And I think it's an indication of our respect and appreciation for the work that they do. So any other comments or questions? Seeing none, let's go to C, which is HVAA, which is the Huron Valley Administrators Contract. Exhibit H, do I have a recommended motion?
I'll move that the Board of Education approve the Huron Valley Administrators Contract as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll support.
Motion made by member Dodd, seconded by member Grisomkowski. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, could I have a roll call?
Miss Dodd,
Yes.
Miss Grisomkowski,
Yes.
Miss Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Dimick,
Yes.
Miss Cotter.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is DHVSMC, which is the Huron Valley Supervisors Coordinators Contract, Exhibit I. Do I have a recommended motion? Motion made by member Pastana, seconded by member Ryan. Any questions regarding this contract as presented? Seeing, yes, member Dodd.
I think it's Huron Valley supervisors, managers, and coordinators.
Oh.
Because there's an M in there.
Yep.
That's
You're
all.
right. Thank you. Did we have a motion? We had a second. Could I have a roll call?
Absolutely. I'm a yes. Miss Ryan,
Yes.
Miss Cotter,
Yes.
Miss Grisomkowski,
Yes.
Miss Dodd,
Yes.
Mr. Dimick,
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is EHVFMT, which is the Huron Valley Foreman, Cafeteria Managers and Technologies Contract. Do I have a motion? Motion made by member Ryan. Do I have a second? Second by member Cotter. Any questions? Seeing none, could I have a roll call?
Miss Ryan,
Yes.
Miss Cotter,
Yes.
Miss Grisomkowski,
Yes.
Mr. Dimick.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Miss Dodd,
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next is FHVFSMCC, which is the Huron Valley Food Service Mechanics Child Care Contract, Exhibit E. Do I have a motion? Motion made by member Dimick, seconded by member Grisomkowski. Any questions? Yes.
I just wanted to, that's a wide range from food service, mechanics, and childcare, but they each have such vital roles in our district. I know I especially the mechanics just sticks out to me because we have our own bus fleet, and so they're always busy, making sure our buses are running and operational. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm happy to be able to vote on that.
I have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Seeing none, could I have a roll call?
Mr. Dimick,
Yes.
Miss Grisomkowski,
Yes.
Miss Cotter.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Miss Dodd,
Yes.
Miss Ryan,
Yes.
and Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great. Once again, I just want to say thank you to all of those people. This is just a small measure of our respect and appreciation of the work that you do for us each day. And on behalf of the Board of Education, parents, and students, we want to say thank you and how much we appreciate each and every one of you, and look forward to working with you, making certain our teachers are successful and our students are even more successful. So thank you again. Public comments. I do not believe I have any other public comments, or we don't have any other public comments. Good and welfare. Any good and welfare? Yes, member Cotter.
Yes, I just want to thank our Huron Valley staff who took time from their weekend at Milford Memories to man our Huron Valley booth. It means a lot when you walk through the town, plus all the visitors that come. But there were a number of booths from a number of our local organizations. But in particular, I was real proud of my Huron Valley staff. And staff from all different departments were present during the weekend. So that was nice to see.
Great. Thank you. Member Dimick.
I was just going to say I really enjoyed the hot robotics display right there in the center of town with my son. There were 3 different activities, and those young kids, I think they were mostly, this was their first year in high school, so they did an excellent job of demonstrating the technical aspects of their invention. So I was blown away. It was awesome.
Yes, member Dodd.
So since we're talking Milford Memories, a huge thanks to our local Chamber of Commerce. The Huron Valley Chamber of Commerce has worked on this. Actually, Milford Memories was my introduction to the good old town of Milford. I volunteered back in the 90s when I was in college. and it stuck apparently. So, but thank you to our Chamber of Commerce. Our Chamber of Commerce is a wonderful partner of Huron Valley Schools. And I know that it took volunteers and participation from our district, but also our student groups. The remote parking lots were both fundraisers, for one for a Milford High School group, one for Lakeland High School. I know those kids walking around collecting garbage out of the bins, those were high school kids, just everywhere. So I appreciate our Chamber of Commerce for really building this thing that not only builds our own memories as residents, but I think it also just makes our community so look vibrant and healthy and creative, and gives our students and our organizations an opportunity to raise a little bit of money to get them set up for the future. So appreciate that.
Anything else for good and welfare? The only, I have one, and maybe I'm going to put Barb on the spot, because I know that we do a tremendous amount of communication as it relates to the things that are being done during the summer out on our website. Maybe you could kind of go over some of the areas that are available for people to tune in and see all the good work. You might have a student that goes to Highland Elementary, but very interested in what's going on at Lakeland High School or Milford High School. So could you spend just a moment to kind of go over that?
Absolutely. So obviously summer months are a little slower on the digital platforms just because school's not in. And so we made very intentional focus this summer to make sure that not only does the social media and our digital platforms remain a place that people want to go to and engage. What we have found, especially this summer, is hearing what people do. So we created a couple different areas of the Valley on Vacation, and we didn't know how that would take off, and we get probably 10 different people sending us their photos a day that we're running out of time to get it on before summer vacation ends. The construction has certainly helped. I mean, we get a lot of engagement with people liking to see the different things that our construction projects are going. When they put up the grandstand, we did a Facebook Live out there, and a lot of people, we had tons of views of that and people commenting. And so, we just really, not only during the school year, but our focus has been making sure that we're communicating, making sure that we're getting our message out, and just making sure that our community knows that, we're not just a school year business. We're, 24/7, 12 months out of the year, and engagement is so key. So again, if you aren't following us on all of the social media, we do have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. As Laura mentioned earlier, we do have a Huron Valley School app. One of the things that wasn't mentioned was not only are we sending the text message alerts as well as the push alert notifications, but we're actually taking it a step further, because we do know we have a pretty significant Spanish-speaking families in our community. And so one of our summer goals has been making sure that we're giving that translation service to those families that aren't able to, because in the moment when we have to communicate the things that are important, we want to make sure that everybody in our district is able to get that information, act on it appropriately, and just be engaged, because we want to serve every single student every single day within the district.
Super. Thank you very much. And I think it's important to note that we communicate in a variety of ways, that we are a community school. And just because you might not have students that attend Huron Valley, this is available to you to see what is going on in Huron Valley. And I think it's extraordinarily important, because we want to be the school of choice, and we want to be a destination for people that are looking to relocate. And there is no better place to send their students than Huron Valley Schools. So I appreciate the work that you've done, and the cooperation that we've fostered throughout our community as it relates to Huron Valley Schools. So thank you very much. Anything else? Next, we're going to go into closed session for the purpose of negotiations. This is something that is allowed under the Open Meeting Act. We will adjourn our open meeting that is occurring right now to go into closed session. I will say this, that after closed session and for the purpose of negotiations, we will adjourn closed session, go back into open session. There will not be any further work that is done or any votes that will be taken, and we will adjourn immediately thereafter. So with that, I need to have a motion to adjourn to closed session.
I'll move that we adjourn to closed session for the purposes of
Negotiation.
negotiation. Sorry, it's raining. All of a sudden I heard that shiny thing. Sorry.
Second.
Okay, motion made by member Dodd, seconded by member Dimick. Could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Dodd?
Yep.
Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Ms. Grisomkowski?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Meeting is in recess to go into closed
7:30
session.
Right there.
Thank you.
Sorry, take that. Yikes. Okay, I'll give you this, but I did put down here my time and who's doing it. So I am